Hello, this is Max. Today, you will hear a story about an idiot who managed to earn millions of dollars through their stupidity. During the annual meeting of Hudsucker Industries, a prominent corporation based in New York, a staff member shares the company's remarkable accomplishments, such as unprecedented sales and a soaring stock price. Despite this positive news, the president, wearing Hudsucker, appears strangely upset. Unexpectedly, he takes a final puff of his cigar and carries out a shocking act from his office window. Surprisingly, the vice president of the company, Sidney J. Musburger, remains unfazed by this tragic incident. Taking charge of the meeting, Sidney shifts the board's attention to the forthcoming consequences. He reveals that Waring's 51% share is scheduled to be publicly sold within a month. The board's preference is to acquire the stock and retain control of the company. However, they lack the necessary funds to do so due to the inflated stock prices resulting from the recent success. Consequently, Sidney devises a plan. They must decrease the stock price to make it affordable. To achieve this, he intends to hire an experienced individual as the manager and intentionally make him make mistakes. Meanwhile, we meet our protagonist, Norville Barnes, a recent business graduate who arrives in New York City with the ambition of securing a job and amassing wealth. Norville firmly believes he possesses the cleverness and determination required to become a manager. However, his hopes are shattered as all job opportunities reject him due to the prerequisite of 5 years of experience. Disappointed, he leaves and seeks solace in a coffee shop. While sipping his drink, he comes across an article in the newspaper highlighting the thriving corporation, Hudsucker Industries. This discovery sparks a glimmer of hope within him, compelling him to head towards the company's location. In the following sequence, Norville successfully secures a job as a mailroom clerk at Hudsucker Industries. Despite the department's overwhelming workload and meager pay, Norville has no alternative but to accept the position. Shortly thereafter, an elderly employee entrusts Norville with a confidential and highly significant blue letter, which was sent by none other than Warner shortly before his passing. The elderly man specifically instructs Norville to deliver the letter directly to the highest level of management. Observing this, the other mailroom clerks become frightened and flee, as they are well aware of the immense importance of the blue letter. Reluctantly, Norville agrees to carry out the task and proceeds towards the elevator. However, even within the elevator, fellow employees stare at him with disbelief. They anticipate that today will be the day of his impending doom. After a while, Norville eventually arrives at the top floor and makes his way to Sidney's office. However, to the shock of everyone present, instead of delivering the letter, Norville unveils a piece of paper adorned with a simple circle, claiming it to be his latest invention. However, he fails to provide a detailed explanation of his invention, leaving Sidney with the impression that Norville is a fool. Consequently, Sidney selects Norville as a figurehead for Hudsucker Industries. Unfortunately, due to his nervousness, Norville becomes prone to a series of blunders. He inadvertently sets fire to an important document's first page and accidentally breaks a window, causing the remaining pages of the contract to scatter in the wind. Witnessing this chaotic situation, Sidney rushes to retrieve the crucial papers and finds himself perilously close to falling out of the window. Fortunately, Norville acts swiftly and manages to grab Sidney's legs just in time, saving his life. As a result of these extraordinary events, Norville finds himself transformed, appearing clean-shaven and donning a new wardrobe, as he assumes the position of the chairman of Hudsucker Industries. Ironically, his perceived foolishness has earned him the most prestigious job in town. In the subsequent scene, an editor at the Manhattan Argus newspaper grows suspicious of the decision to appoint an inexperienced individual to lead such a prominent company. In order to uncover the truth, the editor dispatches a talented and award-winning reporter named Amy Archer to investigate Norville and reveal his true character. Later that day, Amy approaches Norville, disguising herself as a jobless woman, and lists her qualifications while requesting a job. Regrettably, Norville pays her little attention, prompting Amy to resort to Plan B. She feigns fainting, leaving Norville with no choice but to take her to his office. Upon awakening, Amy pretends to be from Norville's hometown and fabricates knowing some of his friends. Surprisingly, Norville is impressed by her claims and promptly hires her as his personal secretary. Following these events, Amy returns to the newspaper office and crafts a story on Norville, portraying him as a complete fool or imbecile. As a result of the published article depicting Norville as a fool, the stock price experiences a significant decline, aligning with the board members' intentions. When Norville reads the news piece, he becomes infuriated by the unfair portrayal. Unaware of the truth, he instructs his newly appointed secretary, Amy, to compose a response to the article's author. Assuming the author to be an unattractive elderly woman due to the absence of a picture alongside the byline, Norville's comment stirs anger within Amy. Despite her inner turmoil, she suppresses her emotions and simply responds with a curt "Yes, boss." On the same evening, Amy covertly infiltrates Hudsucker Industries, hoping to gather clues about the recently appointed chairman. She navigates her way to the top floor, located behind a massive clock, where she encounters Moses, a longtime clock tower operator who possesses extensive knowledge about Hudsucker and recognizes Amy as an undercover reporter. Despite this, Moses discloses crucial information about Sydney's scheme, including the intentional manipulation of the stock price for future acquisition. Armed with this valuable insight, Amy brings the story to her editor-in-chief, eager to publish it as soon as possible. However, due to a lack of concrete evidence, her boss remains skeptical and disbelieving. The scene then transitions to the company's annual Christmas party, where Norville finds himself among influential individuals. Shortly after, Sydney summons Norville and introduces him to other stockholders. While engaging with a Finnish stockholder, Norville attempts to converse in their language. Unfortunately, his efforts backfire, and he unintentionally offends the individual, resulting in a punch to his face. Later on, Amy discovers Norville nursing his injury on a balcony. She experiences a tinge of sympathy and tends to his wounds. During their conversation, Amy realizes that Norville is a brilliant and kind-hearted person, but entirely naive when it comes to corporate politics. This realization sparks a sense of guilt within her for concealing her true identity and betraying him. Amy contemplates confessing, but struggles to summon the courage to do so. Eventually, their interaction evolves into a passionate kiss, signaling a romantic turn in their relationship. In the subsequent scene, President Norville makes a decision to launch a new product based on his circle concept. He presents a demonstration to the board of directors, but once again, he struggles to effectively convey his ideas. This leaves the board members perplexed, except for Sydney, who has ulterior motives. Sydney believes that the product will further drive down the stock price, so he manipulates his associates to approve it. Subsequently, the product goes through various testing phases before reaching its final form. It is ultimately named the hula hoop and is released for distribution in stores. Initially, the product faces complete failure due to its unfamiliarity, leading stores to reduce its price each day. Despite these efforts, the hula hoop remains unsold, causing store owners to eventually discard the items on the streets, offering them for free. One day, a child discovers the hula hoop and innocently starts playing with it. He places it around his waist and twirls it in the intended manner, just as Norville had envisioned. Surprisingly, this captures the attention of several other children, who quickly flock to nearby stores to purchase their own, igniting a surge in sales. Over time, the product gains immense popularity, becoming a beloved toy not only among children but also adults. The hula hoop disrupts the market, attracting media attention and prompting interviews with Norville. He even receives a congratulatory call from the nation's president, commending his ingenious idea. This tremendous success led to substantial profits for Hudsucker Industries, causing the stock price to skyrocket to unprecedented levels. Unfortunately, this spells trouble for the board members who had previously sold off a majority of their shares, anticipating the opportunity to repurchase them at a lower price. As Norville's success continues to grow, he becomes increasingly arrogant and indifferent, adopting the traits often associated with typical businessmen. In a fit of anger, Amy confronts Norville, expressing her disappointment with his decision to dismiss 80% of the workforce. It becomes evident that she has developed romantic feelings for him and pleads for the rehiring of the employees. However, Norville callously ignores her pleas, asserting his autonomy with the statement, "I can do whatever I want." Amy's frustration reaches its peak, leading her to resign from her position. Norville makes no attempt to stop her departure. Shortly after, an elevator operator excitedly approaches Norville, claiming to have a new invention called the bent straw. However, Norville abruptly fires him without allowing him to explain. Later that night, a janitor named Aloysius discovers Amy's true identity and promptly informs Sydney, who reveals the information to Norville. Sydney informs Norville that Amy has written a news article against him, and despite their efforts, the August newspaper is eager to publish it. Adding to the predicament, the fired elevator operator now accuses Norville of stealing the hula hoop idea from him. Sydney emphasizes Norville's mistakes and quotes a saying, "A businessman should never hire a prisoner and should not offer second chances." He asserts that Norville, despite a brief ascent, is destined for a significant fall, implying that he will soon lose his position at Hudsucker Industries. Unbeknownst to Norville, this is all part of the board members' plan to oust him from the company. They hire a psychiatrist who declares Norville mentally unstable and recommends sending him to a local psychiatric hospital. The board members anticipate that news of Norville's confinement will undoubtedly lower the stock price, allowing them to regain control of the company. Believing that all hope is lost, Norville seeks solace in a bar and drowns his sorrows in alcohol. Amy approaches him and expresses her remorse for betraying him. She pleads for a second chance to make amends, but Norville, filled with a heavy heart and shattered by the betrayal, walks away. Later, he finds himself on the top of the building, deep in thought about his life. In a tragic turn of events, he slips and finds himself hanging perilously. Aloysius notices him in this precarious situation but coldly watches as Norville loses his grip and plummets from the building. During his freefall, Moses intervenes by wedging a broom handle into the clock's mechanism, freezing time and suspending Norville midair. In this suspended state, Waring Hudsucker appears before Norville as a divine being, urging him to read the blue letter, which was intended for Sydney's delivery. Surprisingly, the letter is still in Norville's pocket, and he retrieves it. As he reads the letter, the truth unfolds. Waring, despite his apparent success, was never truly happy because he had once driven away the woman he deeply cared for. Additionally, the letter reveals that Waring intended for his shares to pass on to his immediate successor as president, rather than being sold to the public. This decision aimed to allow the new president to operate the company without interference from other stockholders. The intended successor was Sydney, unbeknownst to him as he proceeded with his scheme to install Norville as president. Amidst these revelations, Aloysius investigates why Norville hasn't fallen yet and notices Moses downstairs. The two engage in a fight, causing the broom to dislodge from the clock mechanism and resume its movement. Norville begins to fall again, but Moses acts swiftly, delivering a powerful punch to Aloysius, causing his dentures to fly into the clock, once again halting its movement. As a result, Norville comes to a stop just 2 feet above the ground. Once the clock resumes its regular ticking, he safely lands on the ground and rushes to the bar. There, he shares his newfound happiness with Amy, and the two eventually reconcile. The following day, Norville hands the blue letter to Sydney. Upon discovering that he could have obtained all the shares for free, Sydney's mental state deteriorates, leading to his admission to a sanitarium for treatment. In the final scene, Norville unveils his latest invention, a folded sheet of paper with another enigmatic circle, which turns out to be a frisbee. Thank you for watching. You can subscribe and give this video a like. Goodbye.